everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WOCReader, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I just wanted to have a discussion based on a conversation I've seen floating around social media for the past week and a half, and it is about the whimsical black girl and the box that whimsical black girl is placed into and who that label applies to, because it's been a topic of discussion. At first, I saw it on Threads, and that had me raise my eyebrow, and then I was seeing it on Blue Sky, and there was some underlying anti-blackness in the initial thread that I saw that I was discussing with some friends, and I was sitting down to film a video about my feelings about it, and then that video ended up not happening. It just didn't come out the way I wanted it to, and then the conversation finally came to a head, and the overt anti-blackness was out in the open. So the thread starts out saying the reason that the bubbly black girl, the suburban black girl, the whimsical black girl does not always feel welcomed in certain spaces within our community is because it is socially acceptable to humiliate them. People gain acceptance and get their black card polished by doing things to embarrass these young girls, especially when they are outnumbered. These young ladies are not always being standoffish. Sometimes the energy coming from the group is simply not welcoming. So on the surface, that can seem innocent enough, but as you see, and this got thousands of likes, as you further read the thread, you see what the problem is. For one, the suburban black girl is being held as the archetype for bubbly black girls, and I don't understand why. Well, no, I understand why, but what I'm saying is it's anti-black to do so. And people were getting mad. They're like, don't say that, they'll call you anti-black. No, it's definitely rooted in anti-blackness, because there is a perception that the suburban black girl is the classy black girl. She is the acceptable black girl, whereas the urban black girl, aka the girls who are living in the cities and the hoods, are the unacceptable black girl. The ghetto black girl, the black girl who is too loud, the black girl who can't have a good time, the black girl who doesn't neatly fit into whiteness. And then the rural black girl, they don't rate her at all. They don't consider her. It's as if they think that black people aren't out living in the country, even though they know they are. They're just not on their minds. They don't get to be a part of the conversation at all, even though people are heavily co-opting their aesthetics. What's interesting to me is that so many black women now who are in their 30s and 40s think that they are some kind of anomaly because they grew up in the suburbs surrounded by white people, as if just that experience makes them unique from other black people, as if just that experience makes them somehow different and a standout. And I've been seeing a lot of waxing nostalgia lately over the 90s having so many representations of suburban black girls, as if there's no representation of that now, even though every time we do get a show with a black girl as a lead, it is that suburban archetype. Like, there's been this mindset, and I see it all the time, as if all black media is centered around the hood, and that is just not true. In fact, I would say there's less black media centered around the hood now than there ever was. There was a period in the 90s and the 2000s where we were seeing a lot of hood set stories, and those were definitely stories that a lot of people could relate to, and because they were at the forefront, I understand where it feels like, oh, well, I don't fit into that archetype, therefore black media doesn't represent me. Like, take myself for example. So I've always grown up in a city, but when I was initially growing up, my neighborhood was very older white people, and then slowly over time it started getting blacker and browner. So I went to a small Catholic school for K through 8, right in the neighborhood. A lot of the people who I went to school with initially were white. It started out a pretty white school, it was a tradition for a lot of people to send their children there after their parents went there and their grandparents went there. And again, there were more white people living in the city. Well, over time, slowly, more white people started moving out of the city. And then when city houses were up for sale because of gentrification in New York, a lot of people started moving towards Pennsylvania. And at the time, it was very easy to go back and forth to New York. We had multiple city buses coming a day, so we started getting more people who were pushed out of New York to come into my neighborhood. And I saw the demographics change from white to Black and Latinx. And the same thing happened with my school because a lot of the white kids were being bussed in, and then you had the kids who were in the surrounding neighborhoods. Well, they were offering scholarships for people who were switching over from public school. So you started getting more like kids who actually reflected the ones who were in the neighborhood. And in time, like I said, my street used to be very white when I was growing up, and then it got blacker over time. So I was always like somebody who tried to be friends with the kids on my block. My next door neighbors were Black, and looking at as an adult now, I can see there was a lot of dysfunction in their household. For the most part, even though we have our own issues and we had our own issues, my family was functioning as a unit at the time. I had my mom and my dad and my sister, and we were just like your regular type of family. Both my parents worked and my sister and I went to school. Well, next door, there were people constantly coming in and out. They had like the aunts who would come in and out. Sometimes you had aunt living there, sometimes they didn't. You had family members in jail, and like they were dropping off their kids, or members who just wanted to run around and do whatever were dropping off their kids. They didn't always have a father figure in the picture, so like I said, as an adult, I can recognize where there was a lot of dysfunction there. And my family is a family of immigrants. So both my parents came from the Caribbean. My dad came when he was a teenager. My mom came when she was in her 20s. And so in some ways, it felt like we grew together in a lot of ways because this country was still relatively new. There were things that they were experiencing here through me that they had not experienced before. And I didn't always neatly fit in with some of the other Black girls in the neighborhood because of the food we ate and the music that we listened to that was very specific to Trinidad and Tobago. Like my dad used to be driving around his little white car blasting soca at the top of the volume of. So I remember that year that Ecstatic Experience CD dropped, and every single day he was blasting We Not Giving Up by Masha Montano, and to the point where my friends got to know the song really well just because he was playing it so much. So this was like the 2000s, so hip hop was trendy and mainstream to an extent, but not as mainstream as it is now. And so a lot of my friends were watching BT and they were listening to rap and hip hop, and we weren't really allowed to do that in my household. Like my dad has always listened to all types of music, but my mom did not let us listen to music with a lot of cursing in it. She was very Christian and she was very strict when I was growing up. When it came to the music we watched, we couldn't even watch TV on Sundays for quite a few years. Like her rules were strict at the time. So I would be around them and I'm like, I don't really know this music unless I learned it through them because we weren't allowed to listen to that in my household. And they used to also be able to watch like a lot more like movies and stuff that were for adults, whereas we didn't watch R-rated movies in my household. I was mostly watching Nickelodeon and Disney, and my school was still pretty white, so they would make fun of me at times and they would call me white girl, and I liked to read and they would make fun of me for that. I also was lucky enough to be from a family where I got to try as many different activities as I wanted to growing up as a kid. So I tried ballet, I tried tapping jazz, I tried softball, I did swimming lessons. So in their mind, they had this idea of there's certain things that make you black, and they kind of projected that. And me as a young person, and I would say even today, I will cut somebody off in a heartbeat. Sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not. So, like, I have no problem just not talking to you anymore. And when I got tired of them making fun of me, I just cut them off. Now, that didn't affect my overall view of black people. That didn't stop me from hanging out with other black kids. Like, because when I was in high school and I was going to the really white Catholic school in the suburbs, like, my closest people were other black girls like myself, even the ones who weren't in my grades. Like, we took the bus together, we talked to each other in the hallways, we would joke about, like, going to school with so many white people. That was the one way to survive that type of environment, is to really cling to each other for support. And as an adult, I've realized that I guess not everybody else had those strong friendships where they were able to cling to other black friends, so that when the insecurities and other things set in, it wasn't too much of a problem, because going to those schools can do a number on you. And I can admit, there were times when I did look down on other people. When I was going to the career and technical school, like through in high school half day, I was going to school with kids from the high school, which was the local public high school is a very overcrowded school. It services thousands of kids. And there were a lot of people who just didn't have parents who cared that much about their education, so they didn't know how to act. They were used to getting their own way. They weren't used to following the rules. Like, they would be cussing out the teacher and stuff just because she told them to do their work. And it was a bit of a learning curve for them to have somebody who cared about their education and actually tried to discipline them. And it was in a smaller classroom environment. Whereas, like, back at the regular public school, the class is so big and you're trying to handle and there's like 40 people in the class. It's a bit of a struggle. And like, sometimes the teachers just kind of give up and do their own thing, because it's like, oh, well, you're not about to amount to anything anyway, so why should I waste my time? That's the mindset that happens in a lot of these inner city schools. So, like, there were times when I was like, yeah, I didn't really feel like I fit in there, or like, I know I came across as like, I don't really care about what you guys are doing, because I was just focused on doing my work. And like, a couple of years back, I remember somebody I went to school with, like, had reached out to me because we had gone to prom together, and she was looking for the photos, and she was like, I don't want to like bother you, but I was just wondering if you still had the photos, because like, I always felt like I was bothering you back then. And it's not that it was bothering me, it's just that like, her level was like up here and mine was more down here. And she was in a lot of stuff that I just wasn't into. So like, I had no problems with her. We were cool to hang out, but I wasn't like behind her on everything that she was doing. Like, at one point she went to juvie and then came out mid-year. Like, I was a more sheltered person, and like, the way my parents were set up, I went to school to learn and be about my books to the best of my extent, because I wasn't the smartest kid in the class, and I'm not the most motivated by schoolwork, but I was doing my thing. And so seeing these threads, I'm like, I feel like a lot of people have not done the self-reflection that they need to do. And so they still harbor this resentment from when they were younger, and they met black kids who had different interests than them, and they didn't really feel like they fit in, and so they got called an Oreo, and they've internalized that, and years later they still kind of feel like, oh, well, I'm different from other black people. And there was another thread that actually called it out, saying, you know, y'all aren't including hood black girls in the whimsical conversation enough for me. And I was like, yes, finally somebody saying it, because it's just so obvious with people calling themselves whimsical because they did ballet or they played piano. And truly, there is a lot of resentment for hood black people. And it's crazy that people don't think that they're whimsical, because you go to the suburbs, it's all about conformity. Your house has to look a certain way. Your fence can only be X high if you're even allowed to have a fence. Your grass has to be a certain length. They don't like loud colors. They don't like loud clothing. So you have people calling themselves whimsical now at their big age, and it's like, were you really ever whimsical? You do your makeup very neutral and the same. You do your hair very neutral colors. You wear very neutral clothes. You have like a cookie cutter job. Like, you are like a nice enough person, but you're not really outgoing or eccentric, because whimsical is being unusual, it's being different, it's marching to the beat of your own drum, it's standing out and not caring about people's opinions. Like, you just existed in a suburb. That doesn't make you whimsical. And people actually ended up coming out and saying, hood girls don't get to be whimsical. Do you know what that means? And I'm like, wait, what? And like, they don't consider colored hair or long nails or any of the other aesthetics that they think are cool and whimsical when white people do it to be whimsical on black girls. Like, this cover for The Poisons We Drank stands out to me so much, because here is a black girl with bright pink hair who marches to the beat of her own drum, and people would not consider her whimsical because she is going through the loss of her mother and she's a little bit angry. But at the same time, she still does what she wants to do and makes her own decision and rides for her people. You don't see a lot of covers with black girls lately who just don't look all the same. Everybody either has long, loose, curly hair, or they have their hair in long box braids, or they have angular features. We don't see a lot of variety. You know, we're finally seeing more black people on the cover when for years we were not. And so everybody just ending up looking the same. You don't see the characters with bright colored hair with long nails. Most of these books that the publishers are choosing are about suburban black girls and just suburban black people in general, because again, people don't rate hood black girls. They think that they don't read, and a lot of the people who get the opportunity to publish are suburban people, because you, like, when you're growing up in the hood, you're going through the school system, you don't get to really see people pushing you to do better, to aspire to these jobs that aren't the most conventional jobs, that maybe won't get you the most money. The creative jobs aren't really a thing unless it's like going into doing hair. So a lot of people don't even get the resources to start their author journey. And then they do get to start their author journey, hood stories still just aren't seen as acceptable right now. People will automatically decide like, oh, that's ghetto, that's urban fiction, I'm not into that. Like, it's too stereotypical when they're reading just regular everyday vernacular, even though these same people be using this vernacular online every day, all day. They don't want to read about it in books. Same with, you're from, like, if it's black rural people from the South, they're too country. Nobody wants to hear what they have to say. And so we're getting a very narrow view right now of like the cookie cutter perfect black person when it comes to black media. People only care about black excellence, black excellence, black excellence, and to them, black excellence is simply aligning to white tastes. You have white women at the forefront of publishing who are the decision makers. And they don't like to read outside of their own experience, but they are able to read an experience when it is like a suburban like experience more, because that's more in line with what they went through. They don't want to read about the hood black girl who dyes her hair 5 different colors, who has an all black friend group, who wants to be a rapper, or she runs her own little salon out of her house doing hair as a side hustle. They don't even want to read about the hood black girl who aspires to go to Harvard. Like, that's just not something that they really want to see, unless that hood black girl is not like other hood black girls and is also being bused to school with majority white people. There's very narrow stories that they want to see from us. I've been joking for months now. There's about 5 types of stories we're allowed to tell, and 5 is being generous. So when I saw this conversation, I'm just like, y'all don't think that hood people can be happy. Like, I spent my entire life growing up in the city, except for the brief period where I was like up in the mountains in the suburbs going to college. And even then, I was around a lot of people who came from the hood. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're people too. We have aspirations too. We like what we like. People like different things. I think one of the great things about college is that you do come across people from all different walks of life. And you got to see the people who were marching to the beat of their own drum. You got to break out a little bit of your comfort zone and do your own thing if you wanted to. And it seems like a lot of people didn't really get that when they were away either. So now they're getting online and they're on there. Nobody can really understand me because I grew up around mostly white people. I grew up around mostly white people too for the majority of my life. Like, it's not that big a deal. Especially when you get online, you realize a lot of people did. And even if you didn't grow up around mostly white people, you're still having to conform to white standards in so many ways. And it's actually refreshing when you aren't being policed by white people all the time, when you can just be among your own. And so I wish people would move on from this idea of you can only be whimsical if you fit into the norms, because one, that's not even what whimsical means, but 2, why are we letting white people decide what our norm is? Because at the end of the day, everything they claim that they hate about us, they end up copying and co-opting. All right, so I thought I was just going to sit down and edit today, but then after I filmed my video, more drama popped up, and I'm like, it's very interconnected to the overall conversation that was being had, because it popped up in response to that conversation. So as people were doing like the whole, I was a whimsical black girl who had my spirit crush thing, this lady, Kiara Lachey Bennett, popped up and she's like, I have lived black women being my biggest critic. So I made a journal for it. And the journal is called Sis, Please Shut the F Up. So I saw it on my timeline, like, and I had just opened Threads one day. And I saw all these black women sharing it and talking about, I gotta run out and get this. One particular said, 13-year-old me is screaming. I remember middle school being such a confusing time, then well into high school because black girls didn't like me because I was too friendly. Let me go on and purchase. And this is what I talk about when I'm talking about the internalized anti-blackness, because immediately people gravitated towards this journal that was supposed to validate them for acting like black women are their biggest enemies in a world where we have white supremacists who are actually hindering us in the world. So I sent it to friends. It's like, what is this journal? I'm like, look at the images on it, the whole overall concept of it. And for a journal titled Sis, Please Shut the F Up, there was just a lot of yapping going on. And one of my friends was like, yeah, like, this is giving racism. look at the picture on it with the gnarled mouth. Like, who is that supposed to be? And I think Bethany Baptiste made a great post that I'm going to insert here, because basically what happened is it took a couple of days. It took like a day, and then people zoomed in and saw that the sample pages are very clearly AI, like bad AI. Like, you look further into it and you see in some of the words there are supposed to be X's and there are S's instead. And then she got mad defensive, was like, I made this with AI in 24 hours. Like, of course it has typos, and we're like, made it with AI. She was selling it direct through a website. So I'm like, y'all are buying an AI journal to feel validated about hating Black women and acting like they are the worst thing that you've ever experienced. Again, in a world that is overall anti-Black and thrives on white supremacy. So, like, there was a lot of back and forth. She was getting dragged for the AI. Really just going off. She ended up, I think they said, hopping on Instagram Live and going at people there. Just wildness. And I wanted to include it because it really did feel like, okay, this is a combination of that stupid thread from the other day where people decided that they are whimsical simply because they are Black women who are like in their 40s. A lot of those women were like in their 30s and 40s, like, grow up. But they decided that as Black women who grew up in all white suburbs, they are special unicorns. They are different from other Black women simply because they were the only Black woman growing up. And I'm just like, what kind of logic is that? And just the whole idea of excluding the hood girls and not rating the rural girls at all, but excluding the hood girls and saying hood girls with bright colored hair and fancy nails can't be whimsical, but you can be whimsical just based off of being in a white space. So Bethany said it best, I think, in her post. It said, now that raggedy trifling bee is gone, I'm gonna need the folk who clapped at that ugly journal to look within y'all selves and unpack why y'all were so quick to support something with such anti-Black imagery. We can acknowledge that some Black women can do harm to other Black women without relying on anti-Black imagery that's giving Jim Crow. Classism is a convo for a whole nother day because this ish always gets associated with Black folk in lower socioeconomic statuses. Go heal. And then, of course, she includes like the type of imagery that journal was giving. And it really was invoking that type of imagery if people would have actually taken a close look at that cover and not just ran to celebrating it because they wanted to down the ugly, nasty Black women they feel have hurt them. Again, that it comes down to therapy and healing. I'm not saying that there aren't Black women who have obviously been terrible to their fellow Black women. And I'm not saying that you haven't experienced a lot, like, not just in school, but also in the workplace as an adult. Like, I've experienced Black women who weren't the nicest, but I've also had some great interactions with Black women who uplifted me. I have Black friends who have stood by me at my hardest times in life. Like, I had a really hard past like 5 years at this point, and so many times it was other Black women who helped me keep going, who have encouraged me on my writing journey, who I've gotten to link up with traveling to different places, who helped me when my dad died just by calling me and checking on me and giving me a welcome distraction, who helped me when I lost my job by uplifting me. Like, I would not have made it through the past few years, if not for other Black women. Like, one or two bad experiences should not sully your overall impression of Black women. And I feel like social media makes people so comfortable dogging on other Black women, especially Black women from lower income backgrounds. It's okay to trash them for everything under the sun. And again, we have people who are out here doing so much worse. Nobody wants to have understanding for them being a product of their environment, but the capes will come out for white men every time. So that's why I just wanted to get on here and include this as well, because I really do want to see more conversations about the ways in which Black women actually support each other. I think one thing that we're not seeing enough of still in media is like TV shows, movies, books that are really about Black women's friendship, healthy relationships between Black mothers and daughters, that aunt and niece bond, the bonds between cousins. Like, we need to get back to those bonds, because I love a good romance too, but so much is just centered around how we fit in comparison with men. Like, even when it comes to sapphic Black stories, I find that the ones that we're getting right now with Black women, the same energy is not being put into them. The same amount of support is not being put into them. The writing isn't always where it should be. Like, it feels like at times people are trying to hop on something that's trendy, but their heart doesn't fully believe in it. And I really want us to do better. And to end this video on a positive note, I do just want to share some books that I got recently in the mail this week, because again, I am trying to really just not just promote the negative, but also promote some positivity and get some Black books out there. There's so many amazing Black stories that I feel like aren't getting the attention that they deserve right now. This is Curl Friends Back in Business. This is by Cherie Miller, which she is a great artist, and I actually read the first Curl Friends like a couple of years ago, and this came out last year. It was finally on sale recently, so I had to cop it. This ain't our first rodeo. This is by Liara Tamani. So I actually mentioned this in like a February anticipated releases video, and nobody was really talking about it. Then there was this whole big controversy about the cover earlier this month, where another Black woman, she did make a post talking about the cover and making fun of the way this cover is done, because, and I had to have it explained to me because nobody was really explaining it to me, although everybody was claiming to be a horse expert. Basically, you wouldn't be able to do a position like this on a horse, specifically a small horse like this, because the weight isn't evenly distributed. Too much weight is on its lower back, which would hurt them, and they would not allow you to sit like this on it. And as my friend told me, they were just trying to be cute and maybe a little bit suggestive here for YA. But truly, like, this would not be happening. It would have made more sense if, even if it was a larger horse and they were both facing forward, and could have still been cute that way. My friend said as a horse girly, it did make her roll her eyes, but she just kind of let it go. Now, this was blown up into the biggest drama because, as usual as well, white women love to hop onto stuff and just keep things going. So they were adding fuel to the fire, making fun of it. Then Black women got defensive. Then it got really weird because, like, people just assumed this was an adult romance, and it is not, and were making really suggestive posts about these teens and riding cowgirl and stuff, which was gross. And it went on for a couple days. Then people just started to performatively buy the book to showcase that, oh, I'm a supporter, like, let's make her a winner, blah 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 blah. And especially because it's like, this is a special edition copy. So again, if you saw my video last month, I said I wanted to get this one. I had told a friend I want to get this one in particular because it's the Walmart special edition. I took the ugly sticker off the front, but I thought it would, I've read from Liara before. I interviewed her for my blog. I will link that in the description box below if you do want to read that interview. I did enjoy a previous book from her, and I saw this new romance from her and I was excited about it. And that whole drama and the performative posts surrounding it, like, and the angry posts surrounding it, because like from both sides they were just annoying me. I almost didn't want to go pick up this book, which was crazy because I last week had all intents to finally be able to go to Walmart and buy the book in person, because like I had my car back, the snow was all clear. I'm like, okay, I'm driving to work again, let me check out Walmart. But I ultimately did end up buying it and supporting because I do still want to read it. But I hate that it just turned into this huge unnecessary drama it didn't need to be, and that right now people will rush and buy a black book if there is drama surrounding it to look like a supporter, but prior to that they'll be quiet and not talk about the book. And an author pointed that out and they kind of jumped on him for it, but it's true. It shouldn't take controversy for us to go out and support an underrated book. I also ended up buying the Thea Hosan Finds Her Beat. This is the Kids in Miss Z's Class, which is a series following different kids in Miss Z's class. This one is by Tracy Baptiste. Like, I've bought quite a few of Tracy's books. This one is about a girl who moves from Trinidad to the US, and she's still trying to hold on to, you know, those pieces of her culture. Tracy makes great books about Trinidadian characters, and I enjoy them. I give them to my nieces as well. They've enjoyed them. This felt very near and dear to my heart because of that, especially like the little girl playing Pan on it. Like, my dad used to play Pan with Invaders like back in the day, and my little cousin who lives in Trinidad, she plays Pan. And he was very proud of her that she was like carrying on that tradition. So I thought this just felt very full circle almost in a way to me. And so I knew I had to buy a copy because I'm gonna give my cousin down here, but I also want to get a copy and get one to her down there. And this is an ARC that I got, and I just want to shout out to the editor who sent me an email, replied right away to the email, and then sent out the copy the same day she said it she would, and I got it the next day. So this is The Broken Hearts Agency by Clarence A. Haynes. I enjoyed Clarence's last book, The Ghosts of Gwendolyn Montgomery, and I do encourage you guys to check that one out. I actually got to meet Clarence like 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years ago. And it was a good conversation with him. He's super nice. He gave like a lot of like really helpful tips when it comes to becoming an author to me. And so I wanted to give this one a shout out too, and I'm excited to read. And I have The Bush Team Murder by Ashley Ruth M. Bernier. So this is a Caribbean island mystery, and this one was given to me by Crooked Lane. So I am actually happy to see more black cozy mysteries, and seeing more Caribbean ones especially just warms my heart a little bit. I'm excited to read this. I told Mom, go put in the request for the large print at the library so that you can read it too. I gave her a different Caribbean mystery for her for her Christmas gift. She read that, enjoyed this, but I love that this one is set in St. Thomas, and I love that it is the start of a series. I'm hoping to see more like it. And then last, I got Night of Madness. This is by Ryan Douglas. Shout out to Simon & Schuster, because I didn't even know they were sending me this, and normally like they be sending me books unsolicited, and I'm like, I'm not really the target for it, but this one is definitely one that I had on my radar. Ryan he's a funny guy. I enjoy reading his posts. Like, I've had great conversations with him over the years. I enjoyed The Taking of Jake Livingston, and I'm curious to see where he's gone now. So those are just like a few books that I got recently. I will be reading this year in case you are interested in checking them out. I hope you'll give a lot of thought to this conversation and just letting Black women get to be in all forms. And if you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.